Hello friends, I am DattatreyaTapkeer. Our topic today is pay attention towards attention. So it's a question about attention. We have to pay attention to. What do we mean by to pay attention? What do we do actually when we pay attention to anything? When we say, even in the classrooms also teachers say, come on, pay attention. So the teacher perhaps wants his students to look at the board or look at him. And then the students immediately, turn their eyes towards the teacher or towards the blackboard. And they attend the teacher's lecture. Sometimes teacher also says that, come on, pay attention to what I am saying. So that time then students have to pay attention with their ears. And they have to listen to him carefully. So, in a common sense term, we know that when we pay attention to anything, we either look attentively or we either hear attentively. So, it's a question of it's a function of it's a work of our eyes or our ears. So, either we look carefully or we listen to carefully. We have to pay attention to. Many times we have to be very much aware of. For example, while driving a car, driving any vehicle, we say that we have to be attentive. So about so many things we are attentive that time regarding the traffic, regarding our own vehicle and driving the vehicle, and then being ready to apply the brake whenever needed, and playing the horn and all that, looking here and there, balancing the two-wheeler, anything of that sort. So that is paying attention to. When we are cooking, well, inside kitchen also we have to be attentive. Then only you can have good cooking. So that is also paying attention to. In studying, we pay attention. In playing instrument, musical instrument, we pay attention. In drawing a picture, we pay attention. In, snapping a photograph, again, we have to pay attention to. In fact, everything that we do carefully, in fact, everything that we do attentively, we say that we are paying attention to. That's a very interesting common sense experience, common sense thing. We say, I am studying, so I am paying attention to. Well, we also know that there can be sometimes a mechanical action where we are not paying any attention at all. Means we do that thing just as a mechanical thing, just as a, in an artificial way, a very superficial way, very outwardly. We just, without paying any attention, we say. That's why sometimes teachers say, you are not paying any attention. You are there in the class, but your attention is somewhere else. So that is also a possibility that we are doing something without paying any attention to that particular thing. That means our attention is somewhere else. So we are attending something else. So it is our choice. We decide where to pay attention to. And normally, as we have said just now, that our so-called paying attention to is dependent upon the use of our eyes and the use of our ears. That is, either we see carefully, watch carefully, view carefully, and we hear or we listen carefully. Anything else than that? Of course, because when you say, hey, come on, take the smell of this. This is a particular essence and we are smelling it. So we close our eyes and we smell it. So that time we concentrate on the nose. So we pay attention to that essence. We pay attention to that scent or that the smell with our nose. So smell becomes the focus. So that is also paying attention to through nose. Paying attention to a particular taste. We are testing some food, a delicious food. What do? If somebody says, no, pay attention to, you are eating, you are testing the food itself, then of course we are doing it with the tongue, with our taste sensation. And in this way you will find, well, there can be about touch also. You can suppose somebody is reading the Braille, visually challenged person, a blind person is reading Braille. So what does he do that time? He is paying attention to, not through his eyes, but he is paying attention to his fingers. So that time touch is important. Many other things could be there where this touch will be more important than. In short, what I mean is, our 5 sense organs are responsible to pay attention to. So for us, for all practical purposes, when do we pay attention to something XYZ, that object is there outside us. That object could be anything. Worth watching, worth hearing, worth tasting, worth smelling, worth touching. Means obviously these objects which are external objects are the functions of these 5 sense organs. So 5 sense organs are getting those sensations. They are receiving them and they are trying to give you a particular knowledge or experience, and for that you are focusing. In other words, you are concentrating your mind through your sense organs, and with that concentration we say that we are paying attention to. This concept of attention has been a very popular and important concept in psychological studies. So there you will find that many definitions are given. What do you mean by attention, and how to focus your attention, how to improve your attention. Then there is a concept like span of attention. For some persons it will be very limited span, for some it might be quite wider span. With their great wider span they can have, they will be attentive to many things at a time. Some say that I can be attentive about one particular thing at a time. Some can say that I can be attentive of many things at a time. Well, that's again interesting thing. So whenever we say that pay attention, if it is an order to you, pay attention, you will naturally ask to what? What is that thing to which I have to pay attention to? And then you are being told something outside you, some object of attention, so that you as attention, what can I say? You are attention payer, pay attention, you are paying attention, you are payer. So just like a taxpayer, you are attention payer. So as a person, I myself am an attention payer, paying my attention to something which is worth paying attention to. My friends, are not playing with words. That's what happens in our everyday experiences. But when I say in my today's topic that pay attention towards attention itself. And then the fun arises. Then the topic becomes damn interesting. Okay, what do we mean by paying attention to attention itself? It means, well, I can ask, what is that sense organ through which I can do this? If it is a visual thing, I can apply my eyes. If it's a auditory thing, I can apply my ears, and like that. So all sense organs will have their respective functions, their respective modes of this kind of communication. But what am I supposed to do when I am asked to pay attention towards attention itself? The very process of attention. What do I do when I analyze myself, when I look at myself as an attender, as an I am attending? What do I do while attending something, while paying attention to? Now this leads to another concept like being aware of, awareness. It also may lead to another interesting term called consciousness. I am conscious of paying attention to. I am attentive of being attentive. I can be attentive of being attentive. I can be conscious of being conscious. I can be aware of being aware. And then a completely a new story begins. It's a completely new, altogether different world when you try this. For this, perhaps, as I said, if it's a visual thing, you will open your eyes and look at it very carefully. But this particular kind of attention seeking, it's so special. When you are supposed to pay attention to attention, your eyes are not important. Not at all. You have to close them. Naturally, you will close the eyes. Because if you keep them open, how can you pay attention to your attention then? Because the one who pays attention is inside me. Inside me means I myself am that. There is nothing like myself and something else inside me. I myself am paying attention to. So if I have to pay attention to that, who pays attention, I will have to close my eyes. A simple thing. It's a simple logical thing. And then within my existence, the so-called, it's so interesting. When we say we exist, who are we actually? What is this existence itself? What the whole thing is, in fact? Who am I? And then I go on observing all this, as a famous seeker and philosopher J. Krishnamurti used to say, this observer and observer. When observer observes himself, when observer observes the observer himself, what might be happening? So it's the same thing in case of attention here. That it's a very special kind of different art, where you are supposed to close your eyes, look at yourself, and find out, what do I do when I pay attention to? But when you close your eyes, there is hardly anything to pay attention to. Because when eyes are open, there are hundreds of things to look at. When you close them, then naturally ears will start working. So there will be so many things outside, sound, so many sounds and voices and all the other noises where your ears will pay attention. But if I reject that, if I neglect that, if I make a choice that I will not pay attention to all those sounds that are, taking place outside, when my eyes are closed, so visions are closed, and even though I cannot close my ears as such, at least I can withdraw my hearing sensation from within, so that I will not pay attention to any kind of sounds and any audition. I will not get troubled with that at all. Then what happens? Then remaining three things are never at all. I will not touch anything. I'm just sitting quiet. So no question of touching with my finger or whole body, nothing like. So no question of touching, no question of temperature, no question of pressure, no question of smelling anything, and no question of tasting anything with the tongue. So in this way, when all my five sense organs have stopped their functioning with my own choice, and I am keeping quiet, keeping my body stable, quiet, and all sense organs quiet, without, I am withdrawing their functions from them, what remains then? Is there somebody who will still pay attention to? And if at all there is somebody, to what particular thing it will pay attention to? Then perhaps there is a possibility of myself to watch the activity of being attentive. Then perhaps you will come to know for the first time, if you experience this in a very, very deeper way, you will for the first time come to know what do you mean by paying attention to. Here the real definition will come out. It will arise in your mind. And then you will come to know that, so-called written definitions, formal definitions in vocabulary and in language terms printed in the books are of no use at all. It will be your own definition, a very, very experiential definition. You will confront yourself. You will have an encounter with your own self. You will have an appointment with your own. That time you will find the one who is capable of paying attention to. Who is attending? Who is this Mr. Somebody? Who is this Mr. Somebody? Put your name over there. Who is attending everything? So you will say that let me attend this attender. Let me observe this observer. Who observes all this? And then, my dear friend, in a very technical way, you are in the realm of meditation. Well, that's the traditional term. That's the concept which we talk about. Our own saints and seekers and philosophers, and they have told so many things about this kind of knowing yourself, know thyself, and about this meditation and self-realization. But we always think that, well, those are only philosophical things and they are all imaginary, and what they talk about, it's all dreamy world and nothing to do about. It has no physical reality at all, and it is beyond the scientific inquiry. And many times we think that, well, it is just the fantasy, it is intellectual, imaginary fantasy of all those people. Well, now you will come to know these seekers, these philosophers, these traditional, our ancestors had different vocabulary. We can have our own vocabulary. Think in terms of new psychological terms. Use your own vocabulary. But do this experiment, I will say. I will not say that read something from the scripture or take any particular mantra or take any particular system. No. If you don't believe anything, just forget it. No question at all. No problem at all. You are there, that's there. You have your own existence, that's there. You are aware about your own awareness, it's quite a simple thing. You are conscious that you are consciousness. Then why not to work on such concepts which I am talking about now? As this is one concept, observe, being observed by the observer. Similarly, this is another concept, keep paying attention to attention itself. Perhaps these kinds of what I call I call this as a physical psycho spiritual exercises. They are physical psycho spiritual activities, experiments. So, howsoever logical thinking you may have, you might be a very much rational thinker. You are welcome. So, no question of faith or trust, no question of traditional religion, no question of any dogmas, no question of scriptures. No question of everything that has been imposed upon you through religious teachings. Forget all that. Keep it aside. And be a very transparent, clear-cut, rational, logical thinker. Sit for a while and just, as an intellectual curiosity, There is no harm in it all in knowing ourselves. We are we anyway. So it becomes our sacred duty, isn't it? It becomes our birthright to know about what we are. In this, keep aside all those sayings and all those quotations and all those great words told by the great people of history. You think about spirituality. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the words like spirit, soul, Atman, Paramatman, God, Ishwar, Lord, whatever. You don't believe them, or perhaps you might be believing it just as your parents had told you, your teachers have told you it. So keep them aside. With due respect, keep aside all those ideas that you have learned so far. Let there be a kind of de-learning. So remove all those things from your mind. Make it very clear-cut and do as an experiment. It is or just as a scientist works in his laboratory and works with all the instruments and finds out something new. This is a kind of discovery. And for this, especially for new generation, for my young friends, we need these kinds of technicalities, technical things, technical experiments, technical exercises, technical, what technical? Technical techniques, may I call it? Yeah, these are all different kinds of techniques. Very, very innovative techniques with new vocabulary, with new kinds of steps in that, with new kinds of interpretations added to it. Then only perhaps there is a chance, there is an opportunity, or there is a hope for our new generation, so-called scientific and rational thinking new generation, to enter into the spirituality. And this I always emphasize my point like this. Don't worry about our traditional religious setup in your mind at all. Religion is one way of looking at spirituality. You can look at spirituality in a scientific way, from a psychological point of view, from a very rational and logical point of view, and some original things you can think of your own. So you can discover them of your own. And then you can tally that with the old vocabulary and with the old kind of, the knowledge that had come to you. So in this way, my dear friends, I did not use the term meditation all the time. But this is what meditation is. It might be silent observation. It might be, being witness to your own thought process. Because for thoughts also you can be attentive. When I say be attentive to, just as you were attentive to different functions of the sense organs, 5 kinds of, there are 5 kinds of different objects for those respective sense organs. So if you keep away sense organs, what remains then? Your mind remains. So without using the sense organs, only mind has to be attentive without taking help of any sense organs. Now, to what particular thing that mind will pay attention to? It will naturally go towards thoughts in the thought process. So mind has to be attentive for the thoughts. So let that mind be attentive for the thoughts. And then without being carried away by the thoughts, pay attention to your mind, how it is observing, how it is witnessing the thoughts. I'm worried about, I'm trying my best to put it into the words, but I don't know whether it is clear to you or not. Otherwise it may look like as if just the play of the words, all jargon of the words. But I assure you, my dear friends, if you sincerely try this way, you have a mind, you have sense organs, you have a body, forget the sense organs, forget their different functions, and come to your mind, our dearest mind, our own mind, and then that is the mind. That mind is an instrument through which you pay attention to. So try to analyze that. Try to look at it. Try to look at the one which is trying to look at other things. So without giving your attention to, without throwing your attention to different things of attention, bring it inward, give it a U-turn, and focus that to your own self. And then carefully observe who is attending, who is paying attention. And then see the very process of being attentive to, that is awareness or that is consciousness. This will give you a very good opening to meaningful, successful and significant meditation. Thank you.